Hey guys, I'm back. Welcome to 2020. Now you guys might be wondering, Austin, how are you only just making a video? It's almost the end of January.
Got him!
And that's a good question. A really good question. Let me explain it to you. So picture this, you come up with an incredible idea, you're going to react to a cut video, the channel that already gets millions of views on channels talking about it. You're going to react to their video of 100 New Year's resolutions. But not only that, you're going to do all 100 of those resolutions. So not only are you reacting to a channel, you're also creating a very clickbaiting title. Not clickbaiting, clickable. A very clickable title. And with this, you would assume this was a really good video. So I filmed it, I had it all ready to go, and I was halfway through editing, and I fell asleep. It was that boring. I could not sit through it, and that was very demotivating because I spent a very long time on this video. That was very bad. So instead, you guys got a very long break from me. Sorry to ruin that with this video. But today, we're going to be looking at the TV show that ran for 12 seasons. Based on a book series by the same title, we're going to be looking at Grisly Tales for Gruesome Kids. And you guys might be wondering, Austin, why would we talk about this show? Well, I'm going to tell you something. It traumatized me for many years. That insinuates that it still doesn't traumatize me. It does. It does. I have new fears after this video for sure. But we're going to be looking at 2 episodes in particular. The Spaghetti Man and the Barber of Civil. I forgot the name of the second one, but we got there. Word of warning, this will bring back very dark memories from your childhood. Guaranteed. So just look out for that. Anyway, let's get into this kids show. So the show starts off the same way it always does, with this terrifying intro. It's like a mix between claymation and animation. I don't really know what it is, but it was nightmare fuel is what it is. Anyway, this grisly tale for gruesome kids is about a boy who doesn't eat his food. And he isn't just a picky eater, he is the worst, flailing around his boneless noodle arms, ruthlessly denying any kind of peace to his poor, weeping mother. The father also whispers something here. No idea what he says. Apparently, he's asking Timothy to hold fire. But it does not sound like... If anyone knows what he says here, please let me know in the comments, because I have absolutely no idea, and it's driving me crazy.
Hold fire, lad. Hold fire.
Hold fire, lad. Hold fire.
Back to the actual plot of the show. He doesn't listen to anyone, because this is war. You don't hold fire during war. That would burn your hands. So, what's Timothy to do? I mean, he's being asked to hold fire in this dire situation, so the only thing he can do, the only reasonable thing he could do to really fight back, and that is, of course, to stop breathing. The mum continues to weep over the sheer genius of this child and her inability to control his flailing, boneless arms. That you could put this on a loop and that would give me nightmares. And I'm 18. Ugh. Anyways, this is when the family is visited by the invisible Spaghetti Man. He's an invisible man with long, spindly, spaghetti-like fingers and a flower-like scent. Now, this inherently doesn't sound super creepy, but imagine being in Timothy's position, just having a visible man caress your face with very thin, creepy spaghetti fingers. Yeah, this was a kids show for 12 seasons, for 17 hours of content. Anyway, after this experience, somehow he continues to be a little brat, because that's not traumatizing in itself, until his mother snaps, claiming that he cannot leave the table until he finishes his meal. Now, this is actually a reasonable response. How do you think Timothy reacted? Do you think he finished his meal, waited there for a few minutes and gave up eventually, or just left the table and didn't listen to instruction? If you guessed any of these, you're wrong. He sat there for 2 days. Timothy sat at this table without moving for 2 days. No bathroom breaks, no eating, no sleeping. Eventually his parents have to go to work, and this is when Timothy really strikes. Timothy sneaks upstairs and plots his revenge. He plans on overflowing the bath and flooding the house, because hundreds of dollars of water damage is equal to being asked to eat toast. So when he hears footsteps coming up the stairs, he assumes it's his mother after like 20 minutes of being at work. That seems like enough. So he taunts her, saying, "This is the revenge. This is what you deserve." And out of nowhere, Timmy's kidnapped by the spaghetti man again. The scent of flour wafts through the air, and he's knocked unconscious. Kidnapped, for all intensive purposes, from his home. Kids show. But if you thought it was scary up to here, you're completely wrong, because this is when it kicks up to high gear. Just like a Saw movie. Timothy wakes up in a room with other children. They're all labelled with types of food. Tall kids labelled with spaghetti. Chubbier kids with macaroni. But still Timothy doesn't believe in the spaghetti man. Somehow being kidnapped and also just seeing him and feeling him and smelling his flour was not enough to convince him. He goes to leave, but he is stopped by the spaghetti man. And that's it for Timmy. He is presumably dead. Actually, not presumably. It's confirmed later. So this is when we cut back at home. We cut back to the family. You'd think they'd be stressing out. You know, their kid was abducted from their home. Their house is presumably flooded because the bath wasn't turned off. Two equally terrifying premises. But instead, because the dad was so absent in the first place, he doesn't even notice that their kid's gone. Somehow, the tantrums never gained his attention. And Mumsy over here, she's loving it. She doesn't even remind the dad that they had a kid. And they just continue life as usual. And guess what they had for dinner? Lasagna. They ate Timothy, is what's insinuated. This kid's show insinuated that Timothy's parents ate him. And you wonder why this traumatized me. But arguably, an even more graphic episode comes up next. The Barber of Civil. Now, The Barber of Civil is a similar story, starting off the same way. And I just want to point out, I feel really bad for this kid who never gets a good snack for his movie, and every time will blindly eat what's in the bucket. First episode it was worms or spaghetti that's still alive because it was made of children. And this episode, it's what seems to be slugs, but we soon realize aren't. Foreshadowing. So this episode surrounds a boy and a girl named Tanya and Peregrine, who are just the worst. We see them at school, and they are just terrible, terrible kids. You know, playing up, doing kid stuff. Tanya, though, Tanya's a bit of an artist. You know, Peregrine just sort of screams and yells about a bit, but Tanya sings. These kids are so bad, not even the principal can handle him. There's two of them. They both go in to talk to him for some reason at the same time, even though they didn't do the same thing. Anyway, they both go to talk to him, and they roast him so hard, he doesn't recover. And that is a literal statement. He doesn't recover. He has a heart attack in that room. He's dead. And we just brush past that. This character has just died. Nifty. So after this, at some point, a new shop opens up. A new barber who specializes in kids. But his description in the show is so weird. I'm just gonna play it.
The barber was a cheerful-looking man with a handlebar moustache, bright red cheeks, and a long, licking tongue.
Now it starts off kind of as your typical sweetheart barber, and then he just has a long tongue, which is creepy already, and the movements he does with it is creepy already, and the amount of saliva that comes out of his mouth later, as well creepy. I don't know why anyone trusts their children with this man. But we realize why the parents blindly trust this man, because every time they send their kid to go there, the barber, they always leave well behaved, which again seems suspicious. I would probably want to know more about him. Somehow he's making these very naughty children behave. Creepy guy. So, as you'd expect, the barber goes to the school and tracks down the children. Tanya and Peregrine, that is. She tracks them down and gives them an appointment. Is that how haircuts work? I haven't had a haircut for weeks. Is that how it works? Do they find me? Huh. Anyways, as expected, both kids are there exactly on time, because what else could we expect from them at this point? So they're both there exactly on time, before the barber even, and they find a jar of slugs. But the way the show describes the most mundane things is creepy in itself. This is a pair of scissors, and they describe it as
steel instruments.
They don't even need creepy stuff to make this show creepy. And naturally, in an attempt to impress Tanya, probably, as all kids do, Peregrine pretends to eat the slug. which has always worked out. All of my friends that are in relationships, it always started with eating a slug, so it works out to me. Now the barber eventually gets there, and naturally, in the terror of that long, disgusting tongue, Peregrine accidentally, simultaneously drops the slug into his mouth and drops the jar onto the floor. And this is where the horror begins. The two kids begin to hear the slugs whisper creepy things as they're wriggling around the floor, which is terrifying. But again, neither of them, run or anything. Then he locks the door, normal barber stuff, locks them in. Well, the rest of it goes pretty plainly, just normal barber stuff. Locks the door, ties Peregrine down to a dentist chair, chops off their tongues. Yeah, that's the detail. He chops off the kids' tongues to make them behave better. That's how it works. He chops off a part of their tongues that stops them from misbehaving. He explains it, there's a whole lore behind it. I won't get into that. It's pretty deep. But yeah, now this poses the question, does his tongue get longer the more tongues he chops off? Is that what's happening? But because he's not adding the tongues to his tongue, because that would be really weird. No, he just keeps them in a jar, which he carries around. Much more normal. And as the same in the last episode, the kids don't get away, they get their tongues chopped off, and they're much more well behaved. Peregrine even has his shirt tucked in, so job well done. Although I do pose a question for this episode. Does no one question the fact that these kids clearly didn't get haircuts? Like, he had a job and he did not do them. I feel like he would have much more success if he didn't give away his big secret of not doing haircuts at all. But it doesn't really matter. He leaves the city coming to you. He's coming to you because you're a naughty child and he's here to do the snip. And that was that. That was both episodes. This show's really messed up. I'm sure I don't have to say much more about this show for you guys to get why it was so traumatizing, but let me try. So essentially every episode goes through this same sort of motif of kid bad, gets punished way over the top, and therefore kid watching show shouldn't do it. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, that episode that's in my head, I don't remember what the kid did. I genuinely have no idea what he did wrong. All I remember is he was frozen into an ice cube and now he's a part of the lawn. In saying that, how do I like the show? Yes. Now, I couldn't find the episode that traumatized me, but if this video does well enough, I will watch the entire 17.33 hours of this show in an attempt to track down the exact show that traumatized me as a kid. If you guys want to see that, smash the like button, or don't, just subscribe, or else how are you going to see it? And if you guys remember this show, comment down below which episode you remember, or what you remember of the show. Because I'm interested. I've talked to a few people and most people remember this in many age groups. I've asked people about it from ages 25 down to like 15 and they've all got traumatized memories from it. So if you guys have memories, comment it down below, and that's all I have to say. I just wanted to re-spark those joyous traumatic memories. I'll see you next time. I promise I won't. I promise my next video won't be delayed 7 weeks like this one was. And I will catch you all on the flip side.